the situation got any worse, we would have to move out.
I don't know what it is. What the fuck?
I've never been so scared in all my life.
Did you see that? Oh my god!
Fuck off!
Ben, I'm getting out of here.
We thought we were gonna die.
What? Oh my heart.
We had to have a serious conversation about when the baby comes. We are back and welcome back to our channel and welcome back to another Wednesday video, you absolute bloody legends. Now there have been a lot of new faces and a lot of new people to this channel over the past couple of months, and we've seen lots and lots of comments of people saying, who is Dave? Who is Andy? Why are they called Dave and Andy? And how do you know so much about them? And what's your story? So late last week, Lainey asked over on our Instagrams, you guys for some questions, and we thought that we would give you a bit of a timeline as to everything that we know about our situation and everything that we've learned so far from start to finish, so you guys can get up to speed with everything that we know so far. Before we get into the video though, I want to invite you guys to jump to get the hell out of that like button, subscribe if you are new, and tickle my little bell so you get notified whenever we upload to this channel. But in case you do not know, it's a very simple upload schedule. We upload on a Wednesday and a Sunday at 8 PM. And you can also come and find us on our social media, as everything spooky booky that we capture goes over on our social medias. First is at Lainey and Ben on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram and Facebook. And also I want to give a massive shout out to our channel members, because without you guys, videos like this just wouldn't be possible. So thank you guys so much. If you want to become a channel member for yourselves, be sure to get down in the description where there will be a link. You can sign up for yourselves and get some cool and exclusive perks. But without further ado, be sure to get yourself a brew, turn off those lights, and let's find out about our story so far. So to start our story, I want to cast your minds all the way back to the summer of 2018. Me and Lainey had just moved in to this house. Lainey had lived in her own home before, but for me, this was my first ever experience of living in my own home, coming from my parents' house. This was an incredibly exciting time for the both of us. It was the first house that we moved into together, and for me, first time I lived independently. I just want to add that for me, the paranormal never existed. It never expanded further than Hollywood. Lainey had had a few experiences before living in this house. She'd had a few experiences with a white dog that keeps cropping up when there are times of turmoil or times of hardship in her life. And she'd had a few other weird experiences that she couldn't quite explain before as well. It was about 6 weeks after moving into this house that we started to experience things, but we experienced things separately. So for me, I would hear footsteps around the house and I would see things out of the corner of my eye, shadows and figures, but whenever I'd look, they'd be gone. So I'd always explain them away, thinking, well, maybe it's just the house calling or the pipes calling, or maybe I'm just seeing things out of the corner of my eye. Things that you could easily explain away. For Lainey, she also experienced things that separately to me. She had an experience where she was in the bath and she was home alone because I was out at work, and she heard a gruff male's voice calling her name. She felt obviously incredibly vulnerable in this situation because she's in the bath, she's naked, she's all alone. So that's quite an intimidating thing for her to hear. She'd also hear the odd knocks and bangs around the house, but nothing that we ever discussed together. Simply because we didn't want to scare each other off. We were still quite fresh into our relationship as well. A few weeks of this going on where we'd experienced things alone, we had our first ever experience together. We were sat watching TV one evening, just relaxing, having a great time after work, and we watched a plant pot that sat underneath our TV on a cabinet shuffle to the side on its own. We had a moment where we just both froze, stared at each other for a few minutes in utter disbelief at what we'd just seen. Lainey's looking at me asking if I'd witnessed that as well, and I'm telling her that I had, but in the back of my mind I'm thinking, well, you know, maybe the count is a bit wonky, but nothing else had moved. After this, it opened up a line of communication for me and Lainey to both discuss the things that we'd been experiencing individually. And then Lainey was actually the first person to coin the term paranormal in this house. For me though, being a massive skeptic of the paranormal, I didn't want to use that term because I wanted to find logic before I coined anything. Lainey wanted to find logic too, but she was the first one to kind of, you know, get to that route. After having this experience together, we had a few more experiences that went on very similarly, watching things move, and we'd also have things go missing. So for me, it would always be my wallet. It became a bit of a running joke between me and Lainey, where I would always have my wallet missing at crucial times, usually when we're going out on date night. So Lainey always thought I was pulling her pants down. So Lainey always thought I was on the wind-up, but really, I had genuinely no idea where my wallet would go, to the point where we'd have a specific place where we would put my wallet. Lainey put it there, and then she'd come back, it'd be missing. She'd then blame me, and we'd go back and forth, me saying I haven't moved it, her saying I know you've moved it. Looking back on it now though, we all know who it was. So after having a few more experiences like this, and having our professions as teachers, we didn't want to share things online, simply because we didn't want to discredit ourselves in our professional fields. To claim that you live with ghosts is quite a bold claim, so we didn't want to openly claim that in case people thought we weren't credible in what we did. So we kept it to ourselves for a very, very long time. We told absolutely nobody and just kept it to ourselves. Friends and family would come over and experience things, but we still never told a soul. It was on one Sunday morning when I went out to get some breakfast stuff for me and Lainey had just got out the shower, and we had had an awful night of sleep. A little white cupboard door right next to our bed kept opening and closing, and making a really rough banging sound against the bedside table that we've got next to our bed. And out of pure frustration, Lainey whips out her phone. She's just on TikTok at the time, so she starts to record it, asks for it to happen, and lo and behold, it happens. Lainey posted it online, not thinking anything about it, just in utter desperation for wanting to find out what was going on. Because up until this point, we were terrified. The things that were going on in our house were utterly terrifying. Bearing in mind that the only thing we had to refer to about the paranormal was the Conjuring movies and the Insidious franchise, where it always ends in death. So out of pure terror and frustration, we uploaded it online in the hopes that at least one person who knew what they were talking about could come and help us to understand our situation. Little did we know that the video would go absolutely viral, drawing in loads and loads of attention. Of course, there was always going to be the people that were saying that we were faking it, but, you know, we didn't care about those people because we knew our truth and we just wanted answers. We didn't care about the attention. And after reading a few comments, people wanted to see more, to get a better understanding for what we were experiencing and what was going on inside our house. So we tried to post more and more videos to try and, first of all, back up our claim that our house is haunted, and second of all, give people a better understanding of what we live with so they can help us to get answers. And after posting more and more videos of the weird things that would be going on in our house, we started to carry our phones religiously, always on the camera in the hopes of something happening. And the community that grew with our videos was utterly amazing. You guys came to us with so many answers and a better understanding of this than we could ever possibly have. Of course, there were a lot of people that saying that we live with a demon, and that was just purely terrifying because let's not forget, we didn't know our situation back then, so it could well have been a demon for all we knew. So for people to tell us that this was a demon, we started having conversations about what we did next, whether we moved out, whether we burnt the house to the ground, whether we got a priest in or something like that to come and help us remove the spirit from the house, just because fear. We were petrified of our situation. So through posting our videos, there was one person in particular who was always commenting and always sending us messages with advice, and they seemed pretty clued up on the paranormal. After chatting to her, we found out that she was actually a psychic medium who had been watching our videos for a little while, but due to her being quite shy, she didn't really want to make herself too public and make herself out there on comments. So she'd message us privately just saying, you know, look, this is my kind of idea with this. This is what I think of this. And, you know, through those messages, we could see that she had a better understanding than we did. And after finding out that she was a psychic, we asked her if she'd be able to help us out, which she agreed to. So during the first lockdown back in 2020, we obviously couldn't have this psychic over to the house. So we decided that we'd do it over Zoom, which we weren't too sure how it would work because, you know, we thought that you'd have to be present in this space to kind of pick up on vibes. But that didn't turn out to be the case. We got her on Zoom and we, first of all, had a personal reading with her. She's like, look, I'll show you what I can do. We'll give you a personal reading. So she gave us a personal reading, and it really, really reassured us of her ability as a psychic, because there were so many things that she knew about both me and Lainey that we'd never shared online, ever, and probably will never ever share online anyway, that she picked up on and she knew about us. She obviously doesn't know us personally, and these things wouldn't have been shared on social media either. So the fact that she knew these things was utterly mind-blowing. After that, she said she wanted to go for a walk around the house. So I just picked up the laptop that we were on at the time, and she said, leave it with me. So we said, okay. And she guided us through our house backwards on a Zoom call. She literally told us, take 2 steps forwards. When you turn left, there should be a door. There was. We went through the door. She said, go around the corner. There should be a set of stairs. There was. She was like, go up the set of stairs. When you turn right, in front of you, there should be a toilet. There was. And she was like, turn right. I'm getting drawn to this area. And lo and behold, she took us to our poltergeist cupboard, the first ever video that we posted. It was utterly mind-blowing, especially as we had posted videos of our house online before, but only little bits of it. She couldn't have known where all these specific places in the house were. It honestly, still to this day, it blows our minds to watch that video. So she then told Lainey that she believes that Lainey has a bit of a psychic sense about her. So she asked Lainey some questions, which then led Lainey to finding out the answers about our poltergeist. Lainey was sat on the bed, and we learnt through the help of this psychic that our poltergeist name is Dave, that he was in his early 20s when he died from a car accident with a blow to the head, which killed him instantly, on a road not too far from where we lived. And it's believed that whilst we were just simply driving down this road, he attached himself to Lainey. Now this obviously seems very out there, but this has been backed up by not just one, not two, but 3 psychic mediums. 3 separate psychic mediums who don't know each other, who don't know our story, have all backed up this case that Lainey is actually the one that's haunted. Finding out that Lainey was haunted was quite a terrifying thought, because then that opened the question that we can't just leave this house and end the haunting there, or just leave the spirit here. It's a case of if we move, he goes with us, which opened up a whole new dynamic to our situation, which was pretty mental. Finding out who Dave was quite a revelation for us, and it was quite relieving to finally have a name to put with our spirit, because it almost humanised the situation. And knowing that Dave was a living person in the past was quite reassuring for us, because it meant that he wasn't a demon, and he isn't the devil in disguise, and he wasn't out to kill us. He was just Dave haunting Lainey. But we also learned that Dave would do things quite explosive and aggressive, or seemingly aggressive, in our house through frustration, that we wouldn't acknowledge him, because people online told us that the more that you acknowledge things happening, the more they will happen and the more powerful it will become. But that simply wasn't the case, because the more that we ignored it, the more powerful it became, because the more growing frustration Dave had for us not acknowledging him. So that would be why we'd have cups coming off of counters and mugs coming out of cupboards and lamps getting thrown onto the floor, simply because Dave was frustrated that we weren't acknowledging him, to the point where he felt the need to do big explosive actions for us to acknowledge him. But after we found out who Dave was and why he was so frustrated, it did ease the situation a little bit, because everything seemed to calm down a little bit. There wasn't as much tension and frustration from Dave with big explosive things. Things would still happen, but they weren't as big and explosive, and it felt a little bit more normal, because it wasn't as intimidating or scary, because it wasn't a demon who was out to kill us. So from that point onwards, we acknowledged Dave as Dave. We'd ask him to do things and call out to Dave instead of fearing our poltergeist. We learned to embrace it. And this is something that a lot of people question online, is how we are so calm and collected when things happen. Now, this is just simply through desensitization. We've lived with this for 4 years, non-stop. It's like listening to background music, or just listening to music. After a while, if you ignore it for long enough, it becomes background music and you don't really notice it as much. And it's very much the same for this poltergeist activity. Things will happen, but you're not as shocked by it when it does happen. It doesn't stop it from being scary when it does happen, because you never know what's going to happen nor when it's going to happen. But at least there's the comfort of knowing that it's not out to get you. So roll on a few months and we are trying to investigate our situation. We invested in new equipment to try and communicate with Dave, like a K2 meter. We invested in spirit boxes to try and talk with Dave, where we've had many a conversation with Dave, and we've tried different methods, like Estay's method, where one of us is blindfolded with headphones in, calling out the answers, where we've had incredible results. You can go back on the channel and you can see all of those experiments for yourself. And we've also tried seeing if what Dave is capable of through the means of paranormal investigations, and asking him to do things where we've had cat balls be moved, we've had K2 meters be thrown off of benches, where we've had laser grid pens be broken by shadows, and just many more incredible things, all of which we have documented on our channel. And we've also had other professionals come in as well, like more psychic mediums and things like this, and paranormal investigating teams come to the house to try and reaffirm what we're claiming. And to help us to capture more activity, we were kindly given some CCTV cameras to put up in our house to try and catch more of what we can't. So that for all we were carrying our phones around, there'll be so much activity that we missed. And a lot of the time we'd be out of the house at work or we'd be sleeping. And these cameras, they roll 24/7. They're always on, but they are motion activated. So if there's ever any activity or anything moving, the cameras will start recording that activity. This came with it was a double-sided coin. It came with its perks and it came with its downfalls. The perks were we were able to catch so much more activity and see everything that would be happening in our hotspots, which is typically the kitchen and living room, which is where we got these cameras set up. But the downside to this to these cameras is that we were quite blissfully ignorant to the things that weren't happening when we were out. So we'd come home all the time and find mugs smashed on the floor, or cutlery out of the drawer, or cupboards opened. We'd know it happened, but we didn't see it happening. But to look back on the security cameras and see it happening, that's a whole different ball game. That's quite a scary thing when you get that notification pop up in your lunch break and you're dreading opening it because you never know what you're going to find. So we continue to document things and we continue to investigate our situation with the help of other people. And roll on to about 9 months ago, we find out that Lainey is pregnant. Of course, this was the most incredible news that I have ever heard in my entire life. It was absolutely amazing to hear, and it's something that's brought me and Lainey so close together. But of course, that did come with its downfalls online. After announcing our pregnancy, of course, people were over the moon for us. But there are a lot of people, still to this day when we post things, asking about the baby and what we think is going to happen when the baby is born. Of course, there was a conversation that was had between myself and Lainey where we had to say to each other, look, we know who Dave is, we know what he's about, but what's going to happen when we bring this baby into the world? And of course, we've got precautions in place. We know for a fact our boundaries and our limits. If anyone's ever hurt, anything bad ever happens, we're out. There is no mucking about with it. There is no second chances. And of course, the same goes for the baby. But we know for a fact that there is going to be nothing bad happen to our baby. Because we know Dave. Psychics have affirmed and reassured us, multiple psychics might I add, that our baby is going to be so safe. Dave would not lay a spirit finger on our baby because Dave's not a demon. He's not a horrible spirit. He's not out to kill us or anything. And I think if the psychics were concerned about our situation, then we would, of course, be concerned about our situation. So, no, in a nutshell, we are not afraid of what might happen to our baby because we feel so certain in our situation and also so certain in our precautions and so certain in our boundaries that nothing bad is going to happen. Look, we're not neglectful people. We are not going to be bad parents. We are, of course, going to love this baby with all of our beings. This is our situation and this is our life. And, we co-inhabit. We always have and we are going to continue to. So that kind of brings me to the end of our story so far. Basically, it's just leading on to what's next for us, which you know, it's going to be more of the same from us, really. It's going to be more investigating our situation, because for all we have learned so much in the past 2 years of sharing things with you guys and you guys feeding back to us, there is still so much that we have to learn. And we still want to invest in more equipment to experiment with, to try and communicate with Dave and, you know, investigate our situation so much deeper and understand the afterlife more than we currently do. So from us, it's going to probably be more of the same. In the summer of this year, we are planning on actually moving. So we are going to be leaving this house, moving up to the northeast where Lainey is originally from. And I think this is going to be quite an interesting time for us, because obviously there's going to be a lot of movement, a lot of turbulence. I mean, the baby coming is going to be a lot of turbulence as well. It's going to be a lot of changes to our regular routines. And it's going to be interesting to see how Dave reacts to that, and how, of course, how we react to it. But I think Dave reacting to it is going to be something that we're going to keep a very keen eye on, because it's going to be a case of him having a lot of our attention when he's doing things, to the baby taking up a lot of our attention. So it'll be interesting to see how he reacts to that. I think he'll be all right with it, but, you know, we never know. Like, just like the rest of our situation, we never know. And the house move's going to be interesting as well, to see if Dave does come with us. Now, we've asked him on multiple occasions, every time we've used an Ouija board, or spirit board, or we've used spirit boxes or K2 meters, we've always asked him the question if he'll come with us. The answer has always been yes. That's probably down to his attachment to Lainey, so I guess he's not really got much of a choice. So that is our story so far in a nutshell. I've tried to sum it up in as best a way possible and try and collate it all together so it's not one long drawn out video. Of course, everything that I have explained to you is backlogged on our channel. If you check on the Spooky Sunday playlist, every single video is there. Every single experience, every single experiment, every single interaction with psychics and other things like this is on our channel, so you can watch back. But this kind of is a 25-minute video of everything that's happened, if I can get it down to that. Hopefully it's not been too boring for you and it's kind of got you up to speed, or even if you are an avid watcher of this channel, there might have been a few things in there that you didn't already know that you now know. But like I say, that is where we are going to leave this video off. But I want to hear from you guys now down in the comments on everything that I've spoke about here. What's your thoughts on Dave? What's your thoughts on our situation? And, you know, how did you find us? How did you find out about our situation? And what made you follow our journey? Because that's actually something that I'm really intrigued in, because, you know, like, I don't know. It's still weird to think that people actually follow us for our journey. So I want to hear all of those things down in the comments. And before you go, I want to invite you guys to jump to get the hell out of that like button if you have enjoyed. Subscribe if you are new and tickle my little bell so you get notified whenever we upload to our channel. But like I said before, we upload on a Wednesday and a Sunday at 8 PM, so you cannot miss a video. Come and find us on our social medias as well. It's at Lainey and Ben on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram and Facebook, as all of our spooky booky happenings go on there first. So yeah, it's definitely worth going and following us over there. And on Twitter especially, I am posting daily just updates in the house, maybe even if it's things that we haven't caught on camera. Just even if there's nothing, I'll just tell you that there's nothing to report on. But it's definitely worth following us over there just so you can keep up to date, day to day, on everything that's happening. And channel members, I just want to give a massive shout out to you guys for just being fucking awesome people. Because without you guys, we just wouldn't be able to do things like this and make the videos that we make. So thank you to you guys. If you want to become a channel member for yourself and get some cool and exclusive perks like extra videos and Zoom meetups with us once a month, be sure to get down in the description where there will be a link to become a channel member for yourself. Oh, I think I've done enough talking. So with all of that said, guys, I really do hope that you have enjoyed, and I can't wait to see you guys in the next video. And I'll spook to you later. Peace.